What's happening now across the Niagara frontier? News stories, old stories, stuff you know about and stuff you'd never believe. It's the NiagaraHub Soapbox with Craig Avery.
All right, so we got our good buddy Shawn Weber here today to give us little updates on what's happening in your part of the town, which at this point is there's a lot of activity on 3rd Street. Everybody talks about 3rd Street. What is happening? What isn't happening on 3rd Street? Well, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
What's Wine on 3rd is really becoming quite the spot. Every night now there's a good crowd in there.
Good crowd every night.
We're still hoping we can get more restaurants, entertainment venues down there. There's plenty of room. More and more buildings are being renovated as we speak, and I do believe this is going to be a good summer down there. So,
Yeah.
How are things at the wine bar, as it's affectionately known? What's going on?
Thanks for having me, but things are picking up. I mean, as you guys both know, there's been new investment with a lot of with local investors, is contrary to before when there was out-of-town investors that were speculators. And now there's a very good crowd of owners and investors, and buildings are being renovated and pretty much renting out as quickly as they're coming online, with good renters, young kids, students. At the wine bar, we have Saudi graduate students. They're living above it, and they're enjoying living in the city. They're not thrilled with the cold, but it's not Saudi Arabia.
That's right. You go home if you want it to be warm.
This is what you pay for.
Right. This is an experience. It's a life experience.
Right. It'll be 8 years in June that the wine bar has been open.
Wow.
And my partner Dave Jusiana and I, we had owned the buildings before, and we were sitting waiting for a tenant to come, and we couldn't get the tenant to come. So finally we said, well, let's do something. And we said, well, what do we like to do? We like to drink wine. So, we opened up the wine bar, and, the good news is every year since we've opened, and we've done 2 expansions since we've opened, it's gotten better. We're up every year.
Great.
So it's trending well, and I can't even with this cold weather. There were Tuesday nights when it was 0, and we had a decent crowd in the bar, and people that come to our place are really, especially people that haven't been there before. They're very surprised. They're like, wow, this is it's nice that there's some people want to come to Niagara Falls. We just have to give them more reasons to do it. And a lot of the projects that are going on at 3rd Street, I think, are going to, make it even a better destination.
Right. I know there's an art gallery coming. There's another nightclub type of operation in the works also.
Right. I mean, I've always looked at 3rd Street as the area where everyone fills up the hotels, and now with these new hotels coming online, I see 3rd Street as when someone goes to the front desk, say, we want to go out and get something to eat.
Right.
Go to 3rd Street.
Take a left or take a right.
See, with us, it's very difficult when you're alone, to get people to come to the wine bar.
Right.
Because
only place.
we're an island, we're a destination.
Right.
It'll be much easier when it's come to 3rd Street, and grow the pie.
Yeah.
The more, it'll multiply exponentially when you get more things there.
Sure.
So that's. And we've had more, in the past year and a half, we've had more, there's more phone calls, there's more people thinking, there's more people looking than there ever has been. In the 20 some odd years I've been doing things on 3rd Street.
And the Jefferson apartments are pretty much full.
Pretty much full. I mean, we have some transient, just people moving in and out, but we have a very solid tenant base there, and the phone rings all the time with people coming in. I mean, we don't have enough 2-bedrooms anymore. Wish I had more of those, but there's good tenants, and people enjoy living there, and it's become. I mean, the building itself has become a nice community.
And sure, we know what the winter's like, but I know in the summer it's a great the downtown living. The people that live there are really enjoying Old Fall Street, there are things happening. You know, the tourists running around is entertainment in itself. Just to
Right. No,
get
absolutely.
over a couple
Absolutely.
foreigners, it's
No,
pretty funny.
we were excited the past couple of weeks when the falls froze, how much traffic
Oh my God,
was
yeah.
down there. It was really crazy. I was in Washington, and it was on every, CNN. Niagara Falls is frozen. I told the mayor he needs to buy a Niagara Falls freezing machine.
There
We can
you
do
go.
that every year.
It's -10 here every day.
Yeah, in the summer, it would even have more. So,
Yeah.
And of course, everybody else talks about parking, and I've been hearing all the hymns and haws about parking. I know you're anxious to get more parking. One thing I think we're spoiled in the city because there has been such a lack of volume of people, really, that they're so used to needing parking spaces in front of their business. You know, personally, you go anywhere else in the country, and you're lucky to find a parking meter that's close enough to the place where you have to pay for the parking meter. So people don't mind. They're going to park and they're going to walk, I personally think, but you still need to
plan to walk.
You need to give them an area to
Well,
to
but
park.
we have a unique situation where, we are a tourist town, yet in the off season we have to depend on local clientele.
Right.
And on 3rd Street, in the summer, absolutely, park at a ramp, walk around, nice weather. In the winter, someone leaving work, they want to park their car closed, jump in, have a quick bite and something to drink and leave. So it's there's almost two different sections that we're dealing with,
Right.
that we're catering to, and it's and right now you have the advantage where there is, and the alleys behind 3rd Street and even on 2nd Street and 4th Street, there's property that's available. If there was no property available, you'd say, well, it'll fill in itself and people will find where to park. But there are opportunities available.
And those being well lit and open would create a great corridor. And I think last night at the council meeting, they approved the 425 transaction.
Right.
So they're going to start to put some parking behind 3rd Street. Those buildings can open up on both sides, and in other countries, the alleys are where the business thrives, not on the main street.
Right, no, absolutely.
So we don't have to make the alley a place where the criminals can thrive.
No,
It can
and
be
when we have at the wine bar, when we're full and have a busy night, Valentine's Day comes to mind, there is no place to park on that street.
Yeah.
I mean, our one
Going down
place
Ferry,
fills up
right?
up the street. It's going up Ferry. It fills up our lot. It fills up, not in the winter because I haven't plowed it, Mastriani's lot. But, I mean, it's, and again, the walking from one of the parking lots and when it's zero out, that's not attractive to people.
Right.
The
You
one,
mentioned Mastriani, which would be the dental arts building, and
Right.
it was one of your ideas, working with the city, to possibly have the city take that building. For years, it's been for sale. It's an old dentist office structured building, which is very difficult for a developer to do anything with.
right,
whether it
it's
was
an
another-
obsolete building.
Yeah, and Sean's idea was tear it down, make a parking lot. Somebody really wants that land, they can build something new there, but in the meantime, let's make it open, lit parking.
Land bank it, make
What
it
happened
parking
to
for
that
now.
idea? That was gonna be a,
Well, what happened is unfortunately, Seth Piccirillo at Economic Development, he had a deal with Mastriani to buy it, and he was trying to meander through, city council approval, planning board approval, and he got quite a bit of pushback. And they dragged it out, and Mastriani was anxious to sell, and another buyer came along and bought it. Part of my frustration is that just recently, Seth was telling me that he was touring with some of the city officials, and they realized that they should, have the need for parking,
There's
and
some parking right here.
and they actually suggested that building, but it's too late.
maybe there should have been a planner and,
Right.
Anyway.
No, it's one of those things where the city it should always be much more proactive than reactive.
Yeah.
They're it's like they're waiting to see what happens and then they'll do something. Where you have to forecast what some of the issues are. I mean, you have property on 3rd Street. Anytime you show property, one of the first questions out of their mouth is,
Parking.
what do you do with parking?
Where's the new spot? Is that next to that Crown India? Is that wall that's there that's coming
it's that
down?
wall,
and,
right.
okay.
It's going to be a walk-through that it'll, go right behind where the Gazette parking lot is.
Okay.
And, from what I've heard, there's a deal in the works with the Gazette, so that might, be able to come into play. But, well lit, reasonably close, that's what people
Safe
want.
is what the big thing too.
Right,
Knowing
right.
that they nothing to worry about around
that
them.
makes some of the properties on 4th Street a little more viable for
Absolutely,
renovations.
absolutely.
But
Because we're still fighting a perception of, downtown is
Yeah.
maybe not the safest place in the world. I mean, we have very little problems down there. There was, a couple months ago, there was, I think, more break-ins in Youngstown than there were, on 3rd Street. It's a perception, but perceptions are realities to many
not to
people.
be cast,
Change
you
it.
just defined and said there's no crime problem in
Right.
Niagara Falls. We're not
Right,
saying that.
right. No, we're not saying that. I mean, you take precaution like you do anywhere, but again, we haven't had many problems at all, and there's a much better energy down there now. Like, the younger kids that want to come and move down there.
Even younger business owners want to open up on down there.
Right. I mean,
Not
they're
just go
they're
and drink.
preferring it. I mean, a lot of the people we have, I have people that have moved into the Jefferson that, students, NU students and that looked in Lewiston, and they decided to live, in downtown Niagara
Right,
Falls.
right.
5-6 years ago, that was not the case.
No.
It's good. It's hopeful, right?
And I think the whole downtown and riverfront area now, you've got the Holiday Inn with the Tony Roma's coming in that addition.
Right.
You've got the Old Falls Ramada, whatever, it's been Cup Parkway to Ramada, which is being torn down. That's going to be the Doubletree Inn. That's going to be an 8-story high, 2 double towers, 4 and 8 stories.
Right.
That's going to have a nice restaurant.
Yep.
There's a Fairfield Inn going up, the new Strangio's Hotel at Wingate. That'll have a big restaurant. That area, along with the Robert Moses being taken down at grade, will create a pedestrian access to the water that's never been had. I think it's a great opportunity now for tourists and the locals alike to enjoy the waterfront, be right downtown, and meander up
Right.
to 3rd Street for
Right.
the sit down and eat.
And what I've people have come to me and said, "Oh, do we need more hotel rooms? Do we need more?" Some of the naysayers, and the people need to realize these hotel companies, the franchises, they do their homework.
Yeah, right.
They don't come here on a guess.
Formulas and
Right.
algorithms and
Right, and they see something that I think a lot of people locally don't see.
Right.
They
Yeah.
see whether there's
believe.
trends about people not crossing the bridge, or there's many things included. But believe me, these things don't happen
wouldn't
by
make the
by
move.
chance and coincidence.
Right.
Especially when you have the name brand chains that are coming in. They don't want to be attached to something that's not going to work.
Right.
They very often go to a place when they say, we know this is going to work, which is very encouraging. And what that will do, that's going to attract other people. Like Uniland's project that, they're looking at. I worked for Uniland, many, many years ago. And back then, they would never consider Niagara Falls in a million years. Never even consider it. I would ask them, Carl Montani, I'd say, you ever think about doing anything? Oh, they're crazy there. I'm not going there. Well, now they're coming.
Yeah.
Well, union situation was tough for developers.
Union situation was
That's
tough.
changed. They're working well together. I think there's
Yeah.
it's moving. It's
Is the
moving.
corner,
Everything we
turn
see.
the corner, you
Yeah.
think? The Niagara Falls turn the corner, or still turning?
I would say we're approaching the corner rapidly. We're not turned yet. Just because it's early,
yeah.
but we are certainly in the right direction to
That's good.
approach the corner.
It's a start.
Absolutely. And no, we're again, not that long ago, I would have said we're not even
Right.
facing in the right direction to the corner.
In case you want to join the corner of 3rd and Ferry,
Right, that's
line
the
on
corner.
3rd is the place to
That's
be.
the corner.
Pretty much any night of the week from 5 o'clock on. And it's funny, throughout the hour, the crowd kind of changes.
Yep.
There's a
Yep.
demographic that the younger guys come in at night, and us older
Yeah.
guys can go home and take
Yeah.
a nap.
Yeah.
And you got the pizza bistro next door.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's growing nicely. Next week, the Pizza Bistro is going to be in the restaurant week.
Oh,
So
good.
we're excited about that. Get some activity. The other thing, last week, my family and I, we went to Lake Placid, and one of the things I noticed there was that we need to look at more here is, boy, they attack the winter in such a positive fashion. I mean, you go there, you feel like you're on some, movie with people ice skating and dog sledding, and I mean, they really embrace. They don't. They don't just cower and say, "Oh, it's freezing."
They don't say, "Oh, it's cold enough for you." How many times have we heard that?
I know.
How about that cold?
They really push.
Right.
We were able to skate on the Olympic Oval, and we went to sat in this bar looking out at the. I forgot the name of the lake, not Lake Placid, the other one there. Dog sledding. I've never seen dog sledding. Yeah, right, Mirror Lake, yeah. And there's events all the time. They have this beautiful ice castle, built out of ice that they chip out of the lake.
Used to do it here.
I mean, I think
Ice
these are the things, and, I'm on the Tourism Advisory Board, and we've been discussing and trying to push, the city, and I think where they're redoing the parkway would be a perfect spot.
Snowshoeing
Snowshoeing in a
cross-country
full-time, real ice rink. Not a puddle where you hope it freezes.
Yeah.
Of course, this year it would have been fine.
Yeah.
But something that's open all the time, maybe a little warming hut, fire pit, something that, for the locals, both very local and regional, say, well, let's go to Niagara Falls. I mean, think of that spot where you're sitting there
even
next to the rapids.
The canal side, when we went to the Sabres game, there's thousands of people skating on those bikes.
Right, yeah.
You could just have it right here.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity that, is available, and you got to embrace the winter instead of fight it, because
They have
you
to have
can't
the right
fight it.
mindset where it needs to be. Last night, they just voted down the opportunity to continue the momentum of the Hyde
Right.
Park hockey arenas.
Right.
Yeah.
Spent $6 million so far,
Right.
and the last 2 or 3 that need to be spent has been voted away. So,
Right.
so we want to bring it down, but we also have to have the right mindset in the
Right,
places
right,
that can.
right.
make
I mean,
this happen.
you look at that situation. It seems kind of silly that you do part of a project, and when you're renovating an ice rink facility, you leave the ice rink not to be renovated.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why it wasn't all one project at once. But you don't do
Now we can swim there. Olympic swimming.
right.
We got enough ice in town. There's enough ice there.
And not to mention, the hockey leagues are just a tremendous
That was
driver, economic driver.
Swing and a miss last night.
I mean, there are communities going crazy, putting up ice rinks and hockey rinks because it's a tremendous market. And people spend a lot of money, and I know because our son did it, and
It's expensive.
it's expensive, and you spend money, and you travel, and you
You gotta eat, you gotta drink, you gotta sleep somewhere.
Right. Well, especially when you look at what's going on in Buffalo with Pagula's project. I mean, that's going to be. I mean, very often you go to these hockey tournaments. There's a group of rinks here, then 20 minutes away there's another group, and you're going around to the different ones. I mean, it could have been tied in perfectly.
Yeah.
And I assume at some point they'll figure out
there's
how
still
to
hope.
do it.
Gotta have every council member attend the meeting that they're voting on. There's another strike.
No hiding in the cave. And
Right. Well, I suggested too. I even said to Seth. I said, maybe you have to go and hat in hand, to the Senecas or the Power Authority and say, call it the Seneca Rink and let them put advertisements there and see if they can help in any way with. You never know. You got to ask.
Gotta try.
Oh, wow. All right, so that'll do it.
All right.
Let's
Thank you.
wrap it up tonight. Keep up
Appreciate
the
it.
good work on 3rd Street.